We earn, buy something and save our money. Living beyond economy is impossible. What trends are dictated by the world markets and how do they affect consumers? Watch this in the program People and Economy. Shopogolism is a new disease of the 21st century, as psychologists characterize it. British sociologists have calculated that women spend about 3 years of their life on making purchases. During that time, their spending ran over $100,000. Upon that, the major part of time and money, or almost 55%, is used for buying new clothes and footwear. An aircraft construction engineer by profession and a fashion designer by birth. This is the way of how Berek Ismailov calls himself. 25 years ago, he understood that his dream was to make beautiful and exclusive clothes. Eventually, his hobby evolved into a profitable business. Regular trips to Italy and meetings with famous designers inspire Berek to create new works which are always popular among Kazakhstani fashion mongers. The minimum cost of one item from his collection is $500, the designer says. Nevertheless, few things remain unsold. My works are already being sold in shops outside my native city, whereas the initial price of a garment is from 30 to 50,000 tenge. Later, after additional processing, you can buy it for 5 or 10,000 tenge. Sales are considered the best marketing strategy in attracting more customers. However, great discounts are by no means the only thing which makes people visit trade centers. Large malls are not only a great variety of boutiques, as it may seem first, but a well-thought system. An ordinary accumulation of trade outlets or retail display shelves will not be enough. All people want to get new emotions. Because of that, shopping centers have so-called anchor businesses in the form of supermarkets, food courts, and so on. People are used to save their time. They want to buy clothes, food products, and get positive emotions from having a nice lunch in one and the same place. Meanwhile, experts do not recommend customers spend too much time staying in supermarkets, because every odd minute spent in a shop costs $2 additional. For this reason, the entire team of merchandisers does their best in order to convince visitors to remain in sales rooms as long as possible. Their task is to activate all our receptors responsible for making us buy something. A correctly chosen music influences the speed we are pushing a supermarket trolley and is capable of increasing sales by almost 40%, specialists conclude. The sum of our purchases can also depend on a unique lighting, thoroughly selected interior, and even odors. Aroma marketing has already become a real practice. For instance, when you are in a trade center, you can easily recognize a smell coming from a nearby coffee shop, and if you are hungry, you will certainly want to grab a cup of coffee. Those who have already tasted local commercial centers well, but are still seeking for something new, prefer to spend their money abroad. Shopping trips have always been very popular among people, and the demand for them almost never falls. A shopping tour in an original meaning is when a person goes abroad for holiday and buys something there. It is usually a standard tour which also includes a flight, insurance and a hotel. And when people go abroad especially to buy something, they book a hotel closer to various trade centers. The shopping industry takes an important place in the economy of Kazakhstan. Only last year, Kazakhstani people spent about $34 billion on various purchases. The highest expenditure level, about $500 per month, was observed among the residents of Almaty. In the meantime, marketing specialists have calculated that the annual profit of trade centers reaches $50 million. An average Kazakhstani shop addict spends about $220 per month, and it is worth of note that the majority of buyers are women. Almost 30% of them go shopping once a week, and 25% do it once a month. 2% of Kazakhstani women visit shops every day. Paris, Milan, London and Zurich were the first to open largest trade centers, which continue to hit sales records and attract visitors from all over the globe. Italy has long been attracting fashion mongers from all parts of the world. Milan, the world's capital of fashion, is especially popular among tourists. There are hundreds of shops and boutiques in the city streets which lure potential buyers with periodic discounts. France is as popular as Italy, especially in January. In this period, discounts in shops reach 80% and sellers try to sell as much clothes from old collections as possible. To increase the number of customers, marketing specialists of European trade centers invent various tricks, starting from handing out colorful booklets and aromatherapy to applying of brand new technologies. They are always thinking of how to attract more customers. Thus, a unique mirror has been installed in one of such shops. It allows customers to choose clothing and see how they look without putting it on. Of course, this information has been quickly spread in social networks, and people thought, well, it's great and interesting, I shall visit this shop sometime. In spite of such a variety of products, the majority of Europeans remain to be thrifty customers who prefer to renew their clothes only when it is required. However, spending of residents of that region are of a different kind. According to recent researchers, French women, for example, regularly visit beauty salons. Italians spend a quarter of their earnings on gold and jewelry. Germans never save their money on good holidays. Greeks spend 12% of their budget on renewal of their clothing. Asia is a paradise for shop addicts, market experts conclude. Millions of tourists visit them annually with one principal goal: to have a good rest and buy new clothes. Among the most attractive places are electronic markets in South Korea, bazaars in Turkey and gold markets in the UAE. A shopping trip to China is traditionally considered as the cheapest one, because this country has turned into a global factory, producing comparatively cheap products of quite a high quality. Turkey, with its well-developed small businesses, is on the second place. After that follow the UAE. The United Arab Emirates, the world's most popular and largest trade centers, are situated there and are annually being visited by more than 10 million shopping addicts from various countries. People are attracted not only by the size of these malls, but also by prices. Some products there are considerably cheaper. Experts explain it by the fact that the country has a status of a free trade zone with very low import duties of about 4%. Along with that, in order to attract more buyers, the country's largest malls regularly organize various festivals. There is even an event called the Discount Festival. It sparks the interest among buyers due to discounts and serious communication work. Residents of the Asian region not only welcome shopping tourists but are keen for shopping themselves. For example, Japanese consumers are obsessed with buying fashionable clothes. On average, people there are ready to spend up to 70% of their salaries while visiting boutiques. Many people in China are also eager to leave about $200 in shops. And it should be noted that since recently they are not satisfied by local malls and therefore prefer to go shopping in Europe. Thus, last year only in Paris they spent $155 million. The US has been recognized as the homeland of fixed prices and supermarkets. The country is a leader among the retail sellers. As of this March, US residents have already spent more than $950 billion on various purchases. According to the most recent researches, shopping is a hobby of each second American. The local population is capable of spending 1/3 of their earnings on clothing. Americans adore various campaigns with discounts, samplings and gifts. Because of that, every Sunday morning they get great amounts of booklets with special offers where they can choose any product they like. Sales in the US have become so fashionable that once a year all the country's malls deliberately reduce prices to a minimum. The Black Friday is the name of this phenomenon. Last year, all the US trade centers gathered about 100 million people. According to shop owners, about 40% of all purchases are made in this very day. The campaign is organized in the first day of the grand holidays, when people can go shopping and just have a good time. Sales in the US can be announced for any reason, including the opening or closing of a shop, changing the address of a boutique, and so on. US tourists are also active shop visitors, however they prefer to buy home and electronic appliances. Shopping addiction has affected the entire world, and simple visiting of trade centers have turned into a dependency. Only in the US, the number of people with shopping syndrome reaches about 30 million. In European countries, almost 10% of population loses control while making purchases. Psychologists explain this by people's desire to alleviate stress. After having bought something, shopping addicts feel satisfied for some time. Such people should understand that they have serious problems and they need a help of psychotherapist. Despite doctors' warnings, the quantity of addicted shoppers is growing every day, and it can be judged not only by queues in trade centers, but also by the number of visitors of online shops. Analysts predict that by the end of 2015, the size of this market will exceed $800 billion, whereas 2 years ago it made up only $105 billion. Presently, we can observe the active development of the online trade. New online shops are being opened and visited by foreign players. In Europe, basically, we can see a tendency towards online shopping. The offline trade is gradually disappearing, and people re-evaluate the role of online and offline trades. The US internet shops are the most popular. 55% of all online purchases are made there. The share of goods sold on European websites is 25%. It is followed by the Asian countries with 20%. The best way to save your money on shopping is no doubt sales, which are usually conducted twice a year, in autumn and in spring. For those who want to retain considerable part of their money while shopping abroad, it is recommended to use the so-called tax-free system. This system allows foreigners to return the sum of value-added tax to foreigners. To do so, they need to preserve their checks and then present them in the airport. In such a way, they can return some part of money spent. In order to refund a part of your shopping expenditures, you should present your foreign passport to a shop assistant who will fill all the necessary papers and instruct you about everything. You should remember that in order to recover some part of your expenditures, you may not use the purchased goods. Clothes should be unworn and have all the tags, labels and seals. The refundable sum of the tax-free system depends on the amount of purchases indicated in the check and can make up from 7 to 25%. Nevertheless, the minimum value of purchases should not be lower than the limit set by the state, which can vary from $50 to $400. The area of 4.5 square meters, hundreds of hotels, medical centers, entertainment parks and tens of thousands of boutiques. The world's largest commercial city in Dubai will look like this. It will be covered with a dome with the air conditioning system. This ambitious project is to be completed by 2025.